Hello and welcome to a special episode of Film Ireland Presents, where we chat with Elisabeth Hopper, the head of talent initiatives at WDM Entertainment and the lead producer of the Netflix documentary Talent Fund. So check out the link in our bio for a look at last year's wonderful short films and learn how you can apply there too. But hurry, the deadline is the 27th of September, so get those ideas ready. So thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
So we will discuss the Netflix documentary Talent Fund. It's so exciting as a scheme in a little while. But first, I want to talk about you. And if you can tell me about your experience, how did you get into film?
I got into film probably in my early 20s. I went to university in Manchester and I studied English and drama while I was there. And I had one really incredible lecturer, a film lecturer called David Butler, who kind of ignited my passion for film. He introduced us to filmmakers from, the last 100 years, and I just fell in love.
And growing up as a kid, what were the films or what was it about film specifically that inspired you?
I think it's the magic of film, and that sounds like such a basic answer, but as a kid, I was always into theatre. I loved theatre, so I guess that's where it all really started from it for me. I remember going to see a production of Cats when I was younger, and it's the kind of finale of the piece. All of the cats are dancing at the Jellicle Ball. They're all walking around, this huge circle. And old Deuteronomy, one of the characters, walked past me, and a little bit of his coat, this is like fake cat hair, fell onto the floor. And it was just kind of a really grey bit of string, something so boring. But I remember picking it up at the end of the show when it was all over and feeling like I was holding like this magical thing, like a piece of the theatre. I felt so much a part of it. That probably makes me sound unhinged.
I love it. And what was it like that, like, is the thing that you resonated most, the spectacle of it, the performance element, the emotional journey?
Yeah, it's the spectacle, it's the talent. I think, for what I do now as well, I've always been incredibly impressed or incredibly moved by human talent, by what people can do, by what they can do with their bodies, with their minds, with their voices, and how you can put all of that together and make a beautiful piece of entertainment. And I think it's exactly the same for film.
And when you kind of went out into the world of film, what was your journey to heading up this fabulous scheme?
So in my early 20s, my main focus was acting. So I came at this from being on the other side of the camera. I did lots of kind of British comedy in my early 20s, and really, really enjoyed myself. And then when I reached my mid 20s, I realized that there weren't necessarily the parts that I wanted, um, you know, and I thought maybe I'll give it a go making some myself. So I started producing. It's actually my now husband is the one that's to blame for all of this, really. He started producing a film and I got on board and started helping. And that was 10 years, 11 years ago now, probably. So, it kind of built from there. We've made lots of films with the company that I used to run with my husband. And now, obviously, I've gone on to setting up film funds to help support filmmakers in their journeys.
So exciting. And what's the sort of thought process that shifts? I know it, like, as an actor and then changing roles to a producer, there you could have not more different hats in terms of, as an actor, you're sort of building a world. And then as a producer, you're like putting out fires and making sure everything logistically comes across the line. Or was it the creative producing element that you were drawn to? Like, just tell me about like what that shift was
Yeah.
like.
I actually see them as very similar things, which I know people often, that's the number one question people ask me now. How are you an actor and how are you a producer? Because I think people are so used to seeing actor directors, actor writers. That kind of makes sense for people. For sure, for producing, the creative producing side of things has always been like, the most exciting part for me. But it's about inhabiting worlds and it's about telling stories no matter what side of the camera you're on. So whether I'm coming at a part because I'm acting in it or that I'm coming at a script because I'm producing it, it's kind of the same. It's a very similar creative process for me. Obviously, with producing, it's I'd say less glamorous, but I don't think acting's glamorous either. You've got to be better at spreadsheets if you're producing. I don't think anyone's ever asked me to do a spreadsheet as an actor.
That's very interesting. And then talk then about the shift to film funds and managing that. I know we've had two, at least two that I know of, great films that were produced through the Bumble
Yes, the
Film
Bumble
Force.
Film Force.
Yeah.
That's actually, Gemma, that's actually where it all started, really. So back in, I think it was 2019. It might have been 2018. And sorry, I'm saying 2018 as well, 2018. It was after the BAFTAs in the UK where there were no female directors nominated in the Best Director category. And there was a big push, within the industry as to people were saying, why is this? Why is it that men dominate this category so much? What can we do to change this? And I was having a discussion with a really good friend of mine who runs the company I now work for, WDM Entertainment, who are a publicity, they're a comms company, comms agency. And she was like, what would you do if you could do anything to redress the imbalance within the industry? What would you do? And at the time, I very much was like, well, I think funding. I think funding is one of the biggest things you can do. Funding people from different backgrounds, people with different voices, people that fall outside of the traditional funding structures that we have. So in the UK, obviously, we have the BFI. I understand in Ireland, you have different funding bodies as well. You're going to Screen Ireland for money. But if you don't kind of have an in with those organizations already, it can be quite hard to break into, and it can also feel quite intimidating. And so we had this discussion, and somehow I think maybe some wine was drunk, but the idea of setting up a film fund that we would run to fund people that we thought, had good ideas and weren't getting their work made. And so from that, the Female Film Force was born. It turned out incredibly well in the end. We came up with this pitch, this idea that it would be 5 films that we would like to make with a budget of 20 grand, that we'd like to make across the UK, Ireland, France, and Germany to do an open call out for submissions. You didn't need to have any previous experience. Really, we were going idea led. So if you had a good idea and you could get it down on paper and you could tell us about it and it sounded interesting, then we wanted to hear more from you. So we wanted to learn more about, what you might be able to make or what your ambitions were. And amazingly, we pitched that to Bumble. And I think about 2 days later, they said yes. And they gave us the funding to run the entire scheme. So we ran that really successfully for 2 years. As I said, in the second year, we branched out to France and Germany as well. And we had some amazing Irish teams, Alfonso Films, Emma Wall, Joe Halpin, Claire, they like Karen Healy. I don't know why I'm just name dropping everyone now,
Yeah.
but they were all so incredible and they were so funny and like made such beautiful films. The films that they made were Pat and Ascending
Ascending
Grace.
Grace, yeah. Yeah, they
Yeah,
were
so
they were really wonderful and so different. Like there were such
so different.
different tones and
Yeah,
like captured something really beautiful, but yet like that strong female voice as an auteur.
yeah, and so funny and so charming and so I'll go back to the thing that attracted me to the industry in the first place. So talented. Like, and I was desperate to work with them. And anyway, they both got funded year 1 and year 2. Um, and then kind of around the same time, we were thinking about how amazing it would be to do something similar with a big streamer. And over the years, gradually, we've talked to lots of different people about running lots of different funds. And then in 2020, Netflix came up with the Netflix Documentary Talent Fund. And obviously, we'd run the Female Film Force, so we had a great lot of experience behind us in running these big funds. And so it was kind of the perfect meeting of minds, really. And obviously, to now be running a project with Netflix and to have such a major global streamers backing is incredible.
Great. I mean, the name alone is like opens so many doors and gets so much attention.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about how maybe this scheme differs. So, what was the thought process between like for the inception? Is it developing talent, telling different stories? Is it the same in getting different feet in the door?
For me, it's all about access. I think it all comes down to access. It's how, maybe you don't have an agent, maybe you don't have connections within the industry, but it's how do you get that next wave of voices into the industry, and also not just new voices. How do you support people that have been in the industry for quite a long time, but maybe they've made a handful of shorts, but they've never managed to break out into making a feature. Why is that? There's so much brilliant talent that never seems to rise any further. And so it's looking at ways of being able to support those people. And obviously, when you get the name like Netflix behind it, you have everything that comes with that, and also the huge publicity boost that comes with that as well for the filmmakers.
And we had an Irish film last year that was very exciting. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Two Mothers, absolutely beautiful film. Really, you should ask Anna and Zlata to come and tell you all about it. But it's about Kathy and Ivana's relationship. Ivana was in Ukraine when the war broke out, and Kathy, um, basically, I don't want to give too much away, but basically goes over to Ukraine and brings her home to Ireland. Now, with that, obviously, there's all sorts of politics within Ireland, although I know you've just had a law change
Yeah, this so they're
about
surrogates. So they were,
surrogates.
yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, surrogacy is the big thing I've missed.
Yeah. Was
I
that the
sort of,
kind of spoiler? I was
yeah, that was
like
the spoiler.
too much of a spoiler. Yeah.
But it's a beautiful film, and you can watch it on Netflix, still watching YouTube channel now. But yeah, they are just such talented, brilliant documentary makers, and it was an absolute pleasure to work with them. Like, also when we came over and we did that event at the Stella, there's such amazing talent in Ireland, and it's wonderful to get to meet everyone, and I really hope we have another Irish team this year.
Yeah. Oh, we don't really. We do too, because it's so exciting. But like Anna would have been on the show plenty of times. There, like it's amazing to watch her career. I think her voice is so strong as a documentary filmmaker, as an author, and you can really see like her passion and perspective come
Yeah.
through.
And
Um,
also she's got such incredible soft skills that go along with it as well, but yet she gets everything that she wants. Like her ability, like her storytelling was so strong, and it's such a moving story, and it's so beautifully shot and beautifully crafted. It's an incredibly moving film. And yeah, I think she's such a brilliant voice. And I think her relationship with Zlata as well, the two of them work incredibly well together.
And this film screen, so we will make sure to include the link. So anyone who wants to go back and watch this and get a flavor of what the other voices and documentaries are like, it's there in the bio of the description of the podcast. But it was when it was screened live, it was really powerful. It was
Mhm.
a really intense experience to watch that in the audience with people. I think there was a lot of people affected by it as well in that particular audience, but it was just so moving, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful. So I would like, even if you don't plan on applying for the scheme at all, still have a look at it. It's
Yeah,
so
and Kathy
wonderful.
and Ivana are just such amazing women as well. Like, you can't help but be moved by it. They're all amazing.
So, like back to the scheme, that's so
Yeah.
exciting. To get to make it, to get to shoot it, to get the support, to get the mentorship. I was just wondering if you could just talk to us a little bit about the process for applicants. So, I think
Okay.
ideas at the very beginning, which is good. What
Yeah.
should they expect?
Okay, so this is my elevator pitch to get everyone to apply. So currently we are looking for short documentary ideas. In this first instance, we are looking for a logline, a synopsis, and a creative statement. And also, you can include any links to previous work if you have it that you want us to see. The brief for this year's fund is "You're never going to believe this." So we're looking for those stories that maybe have that, that unknown quality, that gasp moment where you find something out that you maybe didn't know before.
Well, we have plenty of Irish storytellers. That's like, and again, like I think one of the nice things about it is for the first stage, the application, the paperwork is so light.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is
it's
a very
really
nice
light.
idea.
It's Yeah, it's really open. And as I say, it's literally open to everyone. So whether you've made stuff before, whether you haven't made stuff, maybe you kind of had a break away from the industry for a few years and you've come back. I've got a young son. I know how hard it can be when you're juggling family life and also a career as a professional documentary maker, and also how hard it can be to get funding, like we've talked about. And to get funding, especially if you don't have, a previous Screen Island credit or a BFI credit, or, you're not known by those people within the industry. So this is kind of an avenue for people to be able to apply. It is idea first, and we're looking, very much story led. I'd encourage anyone to apply that thinks that they might have an idea for a documentary that they've always wanted to make. Um, Go for it. Really, we get lots and lots of applications, but every application gets read. And if you proceed to the next round is where we ask for a 2-minute pitch video. So just in this first instance, super easy, super, super accessible.
So, and I'm just going to clarify this. It's interesting. So for the first section, it's the idea. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, are you open to experimental narratives? I mean, something like what you've described is quite plot read, but if it was the right experimental narrative, if there was elements of docudrama, like, or is that an absolute
Yeah.
no-no? What's the
No, no,
score?
absolutely not. I mean, obviously, it is a documentary talent fund, so we're not looking for narrative ideas. But if there is, docudrama element to it, I still think go for it. We've
Or
had we've had some that have got,
experimental
yeah,
format? Yeah.
yeah, experimental with the format as well. But also, I would have a look at the films that we've made before. So we've made 15 films over the last few years with this fund. You can find them all on the Netflix Still Watching YouTube channel, or if you go to the website, they're all linked out at the bottom in the FAQs. And you'll kind of get a feel for the kind of documentaries. There's no one style. You'll see that. So really, it's open for your interpretation.
And okay, so I'm a filmmaker. I've put in my application. I've gotten through to the next stage. Can you talk to me about what we put together your pitch?
Mhm.
Um, and then is like you're on a long list, you put together a pitch and then is it shortlisted again? Or like
Yes.
what is the process? Yeah.
Yes. So there are basically 4 rounds. So in the initial round, we have this first round, logline synopsis, creative statement, a very simple type form on the website. That's number one. Number two would be us reaching out to you and saying, we're really interested, we'd like to hear more. And the best way we find to do that is to give people the chance to make a 2-minute pitch video. Now, in that 2-minute pitch video, you can basically do what you like. You could turn the camera around, you could put it to you in selfie mode, you could talk about your idea direct to camera, or you could maybe do more of a sizzle. You could show us the world, you could bring us into the world of your documentary, maybe introduce us to some of your contributors, maybe just show us whatever it is that you want us to see. Then we would ask for supporting documents, pitch deck, budgets, production schedules. And that's for us to see that you have you know, you've thought through all of the different steps that you would need in order to make the film for the budget. So we're not looking for ideas that are a 50 grand idea that you're going to make for 30 grand. Everyone still needs to be paid. The films are between 8 and 12 minutes. So part of the idea of the scheme is to make something that fits in that. We're also not really looking for proof of concepts for features. Like, I am quite passionate about the fact that short films are an art form in themselves. They're not just a proof of concept for features. They are entertainment in their own right, and that's really what we're looking for. And then obviously, if you get through all of those rounds, we will then have an in-person pitch day in London, which we would fly you over for, and a short list of people would come and pitch to a panel of judges. You can see everyone that's on our panel this year on the website. They're amazing.
So exciting. Oh my God. And the production then I presume you here in January, is it, or Christmas, and then start production?
Ideally, because I think I've run so many of these schemes now, nobody wants it hanging over them over Christmas. Nobody wants to be working on it. Nobody wants to be thinking, have I got the money? Do they like me? So no, you'll find out before Christmas.
So
And then it would be production from January to about June.
for five filmmakers, you'll get a really lovely Christmas present. Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
And and talk to me about the mentorship elements, because this is open to people at such a kind of early stage in their career. I presume like the further they get down the funnel in terms of, getting closer to being successful, it's up to them to get a producer on board if they're
Yeah.
just a filmmaker that is capable of doing that. But I mean, I'm sure it'd be something any producer would jump at. getting the type of access to. In terms of like the mentorship, then are you guiding everybody to like, and I also presume there's technical requirements if it's a Netflix production, like like in things like the terms of your deliverables and
Mhm.
your like even captioning and things like that.
Yeah.
Just if you talk to me a little bit more about what the mentorship process is like once you get the go ahead.
It's on a case by case basis. So the supports really range, and it depends how much that individual filmmaker needs. This year, we're really encouraging people to apply as director producer duos if you can, because one of the terms and conditions of the fund is that if you receive funding, you'll need a limited company in order to take that funding. So, if you're a director applying on your own, and you don't have a producer attached, it would be you having to set up a limited company in order to receive the funding. So obviously, not every director wants to do that, whereas lots of producers do, and they want it as a credit for their company, and they want to, develop that relationship with, the big streamers as well. So we're encouraging people to apply as duos or as teams, because then it's spreading the opportunity within your team. It's not just one person getting the funding, it becomes four people getting the funding.
Brilliant. And I suppose as a producer as well, yeah, you're getting access
Yeah.
to yeah, to all of Netflix. And would they have to be on board from application stage, or is it something?
No.
Yeah, yeah.
No. So don't worry too much. If you don't have a producer for this first stage, please do not worry about it. That is something that will come. As I've said, there are four different stages of this application process. There's plenty of time if you progress within it to get someone on board. As long as you have someone attached by pitch day, it's basically whoever comes to pitch will be the ones that are considered for the money. And also we talk about the support that you'll receive as well. Every team is assigned a supervising producer, which is the producing team that I run. So it'll either be myself, it'll be another amazing filmmaker called Georgie Kiko Donovan. And we're basically there for the holistic approach as well. We're there to run ideas past, we're there to watch cuts, we're there to come on set if you need us on set, we're there to look over budgets. And there's also a Netflix line producer who oversees all of the budgets of all of the films.
And would that be a similar process to what you would expect if you were working with the documentary for Netflix? Would that kind of like ape what you would go through?
Yeah, very similar. It's more support. I think you get more support with the talent fund, um, because obviously, if you get a professional commission, Netflix will be commissioning you to make something to deliver to them. So there is a lot more. You get notes on your rough cuts, your fine cuts and stuff from the Netflix doc team as well. So there's lots of different eyes on your work at lots of different stages, which is also brilliant because that helps you develop your relationship not only with your team, but also with Netflix and also with the documentary team.
Brilliant. And in terms of like organizing all of this, I presume it's a huge big workload that you're doing behind the scenes, like managing the prep for getting 5 films across the line that are all over Ireland and the UK. Talk to
Mm-hmm.
me a little bit about like what are things like in the office, like coming up to pitch day.
Um, calm chaos. No, this is always my favorite bit actually, as the applications start to come in. We get hundreds, if not thousands, of applications every year. Again, I don't like telling people that because I don't want it to put anyone off from applying. Just because there's lots of people applying doesn't mean that you don't stand as good a chance as anyone else. Um, but it's always so exciting when there's a big build up. There's obviously all of the press around the release, the actual announcement of the fund going live, the website development, the application development, how we're going to receive the applications at all. And then obviously you have to be able to package that information to show and to share to the panel and to, all these teams of industry experts that we have that look at the material as you progress. So there's an incredible amount of logistical planning.
Imagine.
There's normally you forget something quite major, but we've been running these for kind of 7-8 years now, so it never gets less exciting.
That's so
That's kind of
exciting.
double negative, but
And
it's always magic when the ideas start coming through and you start reading people's stories and why they want to make them, and finding out about all of these amazing filmmakers that are all over the UK and Ireland. And yeah, so yes, it's calm chaos.
Amazing. And can you tell me about your alumni now? That's 2 years. That's how many films? That's
There's 2 years,
people.
I know. So it's 2 years, it's 15 films. I'll just talk about some of the highlights from this
Yeah.
year, really. Two
Yeah.
of our films are currently shortlisted for the Grierson Awards, which are obviously big documentary awards. We've got films at LFF. We were nominated for Broadcast TV Awards. Um,
Just double checking the fact that they go online straight away. Does that
mhm.
hinder the festival run, or is it different with documentary or
It precludes you from some of the big festivals. But for example, we're screening at London Film Festival, we're screening at Aesthetica, we're screening at, we'll be at the Griersons. There's lots of film festivals that it doesn't affect. It does affect some, obviously,
yeah.
but part of the scheme is that they are to go
Oh
online.
yeah.
That is what
To
they're being
have
made for.
yeah.
It is tricky. I know that, Anna and Zlata have had loads of festival success this year, but obviously, because it's been online, they have been unable to submit to some of them, which is obviously it's a real shame. But
I suppose it's the same as if like so many documentaries are broadcast and it's the
exactly,
same. Yeah, yeah, it's the same. You fall into that same category. But I mean, the awards, that's the exciting one as well.
the awards is so exciting, and the festival run is kind of an added bonus at the end. So you can do a festival run if you want to. There's no pressure from Netflix to do a festival run. Um, it's kind of whether or not you think it's right for your film. But all of our films this year and all of the films from the first year have had really successful festival runs and continue to. I'm just hoping that when the nominations for Grierson come out that we're nominated as well as shortlisted. But fingers crossed.
And what are they, have any of them kind of moved on to other projects, or do you know anything that like people are
Yeah.
working on now as a result? Yeah.
People, I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
what I don't know what
Hinting like
hinting.
vague
Everyone's
description.
doing amazing things. I mean, Anna and Zlata are always making incredible work. Their work. I think I can say everyone from last year has another project in their pipeline.
Brilliant. That's
Yeah.
very exciting. Oh, and documentary or fiction or feature or what
Uh,
what kind of
all sorts,
flavor?
mainly documentary, which is great because also we are really looking for documentary makers.
Mm. And
Um, yeah.
oh, that's so exciting. And like so for people thinking about putting in applications,
Mhm.
what like I mean, it's a very simple process. It's
Yeah.
there. Is there any advice that you would give them?
Some advice for anyone that's applying is I would always think about your access. Lots of people have these amazing ideas. They want to make a documentary about the women's football team, or they want to make a better example. They want to make a documentary about David Beckham. I know it's been done, but still, they want to make a documentary about David Beckham, about something niche that happened to him in the 90s. And it might be an amazing story, and you might read it on paper and go, oh, wow, that's amazing. But what access do you have to him? Like, is that actually possible? Is that going to happen? And I would think about that with any story that you pitch. I think a lot of the time we read things in newspapers that we think, oh, that would make a great documentary. But it's having the idea, oh, that would make a great documentary, and then it's thinking one step further to what would that story look like, and also what access do I have to that story, and what connection do I have to that, and does it fit the brief? But yeah, I think access is how likely is it that you could actually pull it off?
Yeah. And I suppose one of these things might be okay, so if archival footage, if that's expensive, that you know where to get it, that you roughly have an idea of how much that costs when you
Yeah,
get to that stage, and if you prove that that would be in your favor. What
yeah.
about things that like probably like an automatic no, but that might be contentious, litigious. Like let's say you like chatting to one of Harvey Weinstein's victims or something like that.
Netflix don't mind about that.
Oh, good. So they have like they've expensive legal coffers that, and they
I
want to
think
take it on board. Yeah.
I'm sure if there was anything slanderous or absolutely outright, a lie, I'm sure that would be an issue. But they don't shy away from the difficult stories. Think about the projects that have done incredibly well on the platform as well. Tinder Swindler. There's some amazing docs that have come out in the last few years that you literally watch and you go, how. So there's always that to keep in the back of your mind.
Okay, that's very exciting. And any say common pitfalls that people should avoid as well when they're prepping, even in terms of form or um
Yeah, absolutely. There's not really anything you can do wrong. I think it's always nice to know why you want to make the film, and I think why it's personal to you and why you're the right person to tell it. So not that it has to be a personal connection, but why you need to tell this story. Also tell us like what you've only got 300 words to do it, but what do you like? Why do you want to make film? Why are you inspired by this? Um, but really, it's like in that first instance is the idea first. So I would say focus on the idea and don't worry if you don't have any previous experience. Don't worry if you don't have a team in place. But just, yeah, that's what I would say.
Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, so everyone go and get their applications ready. It's the 27th of
Yes.
September, so there's like a few only a few days
27th
left.
of
Yeah, but it's only short.
27th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
27th.
27th of September at 1 p.m.
Okay, yes, good to
Yes.
know. None of these 12 o'clock people, they will not be accepted.
Yeah,
Will
you
not be
come in
gone
at
crossing.
2, it won't be accepted.
Okay.
All of for full like terms and conditions and everything. That's all on the website. For anything, any of the FAQs, go and look down there. There's also a contact email on the website if you have any big questions or any accessibility issues with the application form on the website. Please let us know. We can send you it in a different format so that it might be a bit easier. And yeah, I really encourage anyone to apply, even if you've never applied for anything before. It's quite a magical experience, and we always get really good feedback from people that maybe don't even necessarily get the funding but have gone on. I think 3 of the people who came to pitch last year that didn't get the money have gone on to make their documentaries anyway, because the kind of process is quite, you have to really interrogate the idea, and I think when you get it to that point you're almost ready to make it anyway.
Brilliant. Okay, let's get our Irish
Come on.
representation across the line because that's what we want to see. Thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for listening. And best of luck with the applications.